Hi guys and girls, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. This is part 2 of the Les Paul Standard that we're putting the Seymour Duncan Allen Co. Pickups in. But before we did all that, I'm doing the cleanup. The part 1 got cut off. I can't explain why, but let's get back to work. Sorry about the editing faux pas, but we're just make a part 2. That's all. Cleaned up everything here. You can see that I did my number on the fretboard. Boy, was that girl dry. Cleaned it, scrubbed it. You've seen that exercise many times. Boiled linseed oil on all of the fretboard. That's what I call dressing the fretboard. You saw us do the fret erasers on the last video. We're moving on. I've already cleaned up the top of the guitar. I cleaned up the headstock. I cleaned up the back of the guitar. So there was some stuff on here that I had to use a little bit of Music Nomad polish on it. This stuff is amazing. It is such a light polish. It's got some grit to it, but it'll never ever leave a scratch in the, whether you're talking about nitrocellulose, which is what's on a Gibson, or a clear coat on a Fender, or whatever it is. It's very light, and sometimes sweat gets on there and it cooks into the finish on the guitar, and sometimes you can't just wipe it off. So full cleanup. We're doing the neck now. The back of the neck. So I'm only showing you the last part of it as I explained to you. This stuff, you take a little bit, you put it on the just a touch on there, and you gotta work a little fast with this. I learned that don't try to do the whole thing all at once. Pick a section right here. Okay, remember this is all done. The front's done. The headstock on the front's done. We're just doing the back part of the neck. And I'm not going to remove all the tuners on this particular cleanup because, frankly, it doesn't need it. It needs some love up here. We're going to get into that, but we'll clean it up and get around it. But a little bit of the polish, and you start and you work it in wherever you want it, and you start small. Rub it in and then rub it off right away. And when I tell you this stuff is amazing, it cleans and takes everything off. The grit is so light that anything that's stuck on there, old wax buildup, DNA, sweat, dried beer, I don't care. It will take it off. And it will leave you back to the way this guitar came off of the factory floor, out of the paint shop, whatever you want to call it. So, and when you get done, by the way, it's as smooth as a baby's ass. So, pause real quick. I'm going to do the rest of the neck, and then we'll get back into the electronics. Okay, we're back. So I cleaned up the back of the neck, and I cleaned up the back, and I cleaned up the front. And you can see that I have all the hardware pulled out of here except the stop bar screws. I did pull these out because it doesn't matter. When you're in there wiping around, they get moved around, and we're doing the full Monty on this guitar anyway. So in the full setup, that's all going to happen. Fret board is cleaned and treated. I erased and probably saved this fret wire from having to be recrowned, or even further than that, a full leveling job. I'm not going to lie to you, there's still a little, I can still see, even with just my bad eyes, some stuff on there. But I'm going to make this guitar play the way that it is. If I get to the juncture where we need to do a full fret level on it because the last job was not done right and completed correctly, we'll do that. We'll address it as it comes. But at this moment, no. My professional opinion is no. It's at this juncture, that's not where we're going to go with this. There's too much other stuff, and my feeling is that this is going to be great. And trust me, it's 1,000 times better than it ever was. Now, I really want to see what is going on. I'm going to take this one out first. And, you know, once you do this, you own it. Let's get the ring off first. You know, I have seen all kinds of examples of Les Pauls, different configurations of pickups. Everybody's got their, you know, what they think they want their guitar to sound like. I build my own basses, and yeah, I did that too, so I'm guilty. So this is exactly the way that I would expect to see that. It comes from, the wire comes from this side and goes around. This one I think is the one that's backwards. I'm not 100% sure, because you'll notice cream, black, black, cream. I don't think that means anything, but I could be totally wrong. And actually the cavity is cut differently on this, because it showed that the wire would go around that way, and it looks like the cavity is cut slightly different. Let's check this one out. I would have seen that wire come out, go around here, and then go through a drill into the control cavity that way. A little bit better screwdriver for this. That little guy wasn't making it. I think these are going to be considerably taller, and they are. Yep. Typical, standard. We can live with that. My fear is that the pickups that he wants to put in there, yep, they'll work, but I'm going to have to do some other wiring, because what's in here is not quite what's in there. And like I said before, he's got a push-pull to split, to, you know, to do coil split. He mentioned that he didn't dig on that too much, and it didn't sound a whole lot different from, you know, full-on or splitting the coil. It could be that this thing is not wired right, and somebody put these in and they're not wired up right. We don't know. But I can tell you this, and this is the scary part when you're somebody like me. Once you unscrew these, open everything up, and get in there, guess what? You're the owner. You have to take responsibility. Same thing. This one, the wire starts here and goes through the cavity. So I'm going to put one screw back in just to hold it in place, because now I got to turn it upside down and look into the control cavity. Just to hold it in place. This one, these take the long ones, this one takes the short one. Yeah, there you. And this is the tedious part of electronics work. Okay, so they're still there, they're just held in barely. So to orient, the control cover is over here for the control panel. So when you're looking at it this way, they go this way, but when we flip it upside down, now everything is on the back side. Alright, I'm not 100% sure that we're going to be happy with those. I know how they go in. That's not the problem. But I think this guitar is wired up a little bit differently, because it's got the push-pulls, which frankly I never liked either. I kind of agree with the owner of this guitar. Never cared for it. Didn't seem like if you're playing rock and roll, you don't need it. Yeah, and that's what I was afraid of. Okay, so these, let me see if I can get in the movie here a little bit better. These have one wire coming out, and the covering around the wire is actually the ground. So these are coming out. Let's see if I can illustrate it. I'm not 100% sure I will be able to. These are the pickup wires coming out right here. 1, 2, a green, a white, a bare, and a black, going to the push-pull pots, which are these two guys right here, which would be those two guys. So, not happy about that, because, like I said, these only have one wire coming out of them, and you're actually supposed to put the cover around the wire. The cover around the wire, it comes out one wire in the middle, and then the cover is actually metal. That's the ground for these pickups, and they have to solder right to the top of the pot. You'll notice these two pots are regular kind of pots. These are the push-pulls, and they have micro wires coming out of the pickups that are in this guitar going right to those. So we may end up going, okay, we have to rewire the whole cavity, or get better Seymour Duncans that are more in line with using for push-pulls. In other words, if we want to use these, we're going to have to change these two pots. There's no other way around it. Otherwise, the push-pull coil splitting will not work. If we change these pots and wire it like a regular, I don't know, whatever era guitar, I know how Slash does it, and I know that the owner of this guitar likes that tone, and that's what attracted him to this product. We may have to get a couple of pots and do a complete rewiring job. So you never know what you're going to run into, and I was kind of fearful of that when he goes, oh, by the way, they got push-pull. You know, it would have taken me a minute to figure that out, but he showed me what he wanted to put in there, and I go, okay, that's cool. Yeah, they look identical on the front, but when you get into the meat of it, which is something that looks like this, nope, not quite. So, good news, bad news. There's a solution to every issue. We did accomplish a lot today. We cleaned up the guitar, we treated the fretboard, we dressed the frets and sanded them. We did fret eraser on them, and trust me, they look a million times better, and I'm not concerned too much yet with what's going to happen here. Mostly, I want to get this guitar playing right. My recommendation to my customer is going to be, leave these pickups in here for now. Let's set up the entire guitar, play it after I get done with it, and then we'll talk about upgrades later on that will either work with the push-pulls or maybe rethink whether you want push-pull split coil function, because that may not be something he's interested in, and we can handle that. It's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. Like and subscribe. We had a lot of fun today. We're working on some interesting guitars. Second Les Paul Standard I've had in the shop in 2 days, so it's all good. Thank you again. I'm going to say it one more time. Like and subscribe. Please tell your friends, and be kind to everyone you walk into.